Oh, hi, I'm Nathan Ryan, and you're on Gen Connect U, the expert platform that brings you the wisdom of amazing experts live weekly. Today, we are conducting a live webinar event sponsored by RAM, an international media research company. I'm here with Eleanor Hong, a digital media strategist. Eleanor is going to be talking with us today about millennials and how they're getting their news and information and the best way you can reach them. Eleanor is a digital consultant and teaches in the Interactive Media Graduate Program at Quinnipiac University. Hello, Eleanor. How are you today?
Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to talk about this topic, and I really want to thank Gen Connect and RAM for this opportunity. First, I teach interactive communications, a couple of courses at Quinnipiac University. So a good bulk of my students are millennials, and I'm happy to share the insights from my experience over to you and definitely the best ways to reach them. First off, we definitely live in a digital age where we have so much information being shared. In this slide, you see that in 60 seconds, we have so much that we put on the digital space through email, uploading YouTube videos, tweets, as well as sharing messages on Twitter or even self-publishing in terms of blog posts. First off, who are millennials? So millennials is the generation that's born between 1982 and the early 2000s. So there's discrepancies when you look up research in terms of where the cutoff date is. But I think for many publishers and for your business, if you deal with millennials, you're going to find that this generation is the largest so far, and it's larger than baby boomers. It's 92 million and counting, and a lot of the millennials are digital natives. They're the first generation of who can not live without their smartphone. This is standard. They're used to it. It's like their third hand. Most of them, a good 85 to 99% of them have and own smartphones. They're multitaskers. They love the instance of technology at their fingertips. They, are the ones that are quick in terms of finding information about a product. They'll likely do price comparisons and peer reviews, and that really influences on whether they're going to purchase or not. And the average mobile user spends about nearly 26 hours and plus a month on social apps. So this is a generation that is definitely connected and in sync with technology. So how do millennials get news? Like I said, mostly they're mobile driven. They likely keep up with news and what's important to them if it's of interest to them, but likely, they keep up with news in terms of whether it's being shared through their apps, their social media profiles, or they're likely to look at more non-traditional institutions and news sources to get their daily information. So likely, because they're multitaskers, they tend to look across platforms and across different, I guess, news platforms as well. So what I'm trying to say is they don't just stick to one traditional media type of institution or one credible source. A lot of my students tell me that they get their updates through BuzzFeed, Reddit, or they'll skim headlines on Twitter. Surprisingly, a lot of them also get their news or connect with someone that's a key influencer off of their Instagram account. And many of them, they look at Facebook as a news feed and a way for them to get updated. They may not regularly, really engage so much on Facebook or share as much like you might do on Instagram or Snapchat or whatever, new social media or mobile platform and app that they are on, but they definitely get their updates on Facebook. So I just want to share also, this is a question that I ask my students in my, one of the classes I teach is Issues in Contemporary Media, and we talk about how the digital age has really influenced the media culture in terms of news and publishing itself. So a lot of times my students will tell me that they get their daily news, again, through their mobile apps, and they follow news on social media. They're likely to really follow a trend or a popular story. They'll look at different platforms like Flipboard, again, BuzzFeed and Reddit. And just a reminder for a lot of us that are older than the millennial generation, this is a group that is used to self-publishing, and blogs are standard. They're not just, another source. They're kind of like another, in other words, they're not just another media source. It's kind of all in the same. And because they're, again, multitaskers, they also look at multiple sources as well. What they find as a credible source is likely if it's a brand or a news app, but they're not always inclined to just stick to one brand. They'll look across different brands for the topic of interest. So for many of my students, they'll look at CNN or ESPN if they follow news and what's up to date in terms of sports would be, again, ESPN or Bleacher Report, and they're likely to click on a news story if it has a catchy title, a headline, or even video, because they're very visual as well. And that's where I find a lot of digital natives kind of lean towards Instagram as a platform where they can, view and share visuals and photos and videos as well. But again, they follow key topics through this visual space. Again, off of their mobile phone. So in terms of millennial news consumption, Facebook has a stronghold. It's a great platform to not only keep updated in terms of the news feed, but to share and make comments. Millennials aren't shy and they love to engage, and likely, they're going to share something that connects with them either emotionally or, like I said, it catches their attention. And we see that, some of the publishers are paying attention, right? So many, online brands and digital brands are looking at how do millennials consume content. So definitely, like I said, in the mobile and social world, but, they're likely to, create something or some kind of campaign that connects with millennials and of their interest. A lot of the younger generation, is looking beyond Facebook and Twitter for their headlines. They're looking at newer networks off of their mobile phone. They're looking at apps like WhatsApp or Snapchat and Tumblr or even Periscope, which is, really looking at more of a visual and video storytelling space. And what that means for millennials and publishers, millennials have a lot to offer to publishers. They consume a good percentage of news sites. They make up more than 30% of news site usage, and they do that through mostly the mobile phone. And we see this change and shift again when you're within the publishing industry. You might look at traditional means and you might look at digital. I would say this is kind of where I think a lot of media organizations need to change their perspective. So your online presence in digital space is already expected, right? So there's an assumption there. But how they get to your digital brand is all across the board, and you have to look at that in more of a matrix model, and mobile is a driving force for that. Another driving force for news is social media. It's a pathway for millennials to not only get the news, a lot of them are spectators, where they're skimming different headlines and they're skimming across their mobile phones to see what the top stories are. They see what's trending. They're likely to see what's popular. But this is also an area and a space where news organizations can interact with their readers. And a lot of times millennials will give their input when they share a story. They're also likely to discuss a current event topic or comment on the developing story on that space, whether it be on a news platform, whether it be on your Facebook page or tweeting with you, or off of your Pinterest or Instagram account, or off of their own social profile as well. So this is something to pay attention to, where social media, it's not enough for you to just post your story, but how do you engage with millennials on that? So with the next slide, I just want to really focus in on how millennials are connected. First off, definitely social media, but it's not so much as the brand social media. Keep in mind, millennials, 3/4 of them have their own profile across several social networking sites, and they're likely to have their own Tumblr presence, as well as Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, or Instagram account. And this is how they communicate with each other and the world or the digital landscape at large. 1 out of 5 millennial has posted a video of themselves online. So if video is something that you're just about looking into, it's something that you really need to catch up on. Video is standard, and it's a great space not only in terms of consuming content, but also publishing content as well. And I'm saying that more in terms of the millennials themselves will publish their own content on YouTube or Vine or Vimeo. They'll use video to express themselves. Apps. Several apps out there. Again, millennials will spend more than 26 to 30 hours a month just alone on social media apps. But this is their way of getting that instant information and connection, and also searching for that interest that they're searching for that topic that they're interested in, or finding more information about a product or a purchase. Millennials connect for a cause. They're emotionally driven and they love self-expression. So they're likely to engage with content that drives them emotionally. And that also is the case for video as well. Who doesn't like a good laugh, or see something funny, or might have a reaction to a video and be like, oh my goodness, can you believe this? And they're likely to share that along to their peers. And millennials, again, they love a good cause, and we see this through the ALS Bucket Challenge. That was a huge and successful, campaign for video as well as social media. And likely this is the type of campaign that millennials will donate to. Again, they feel connected, they visually can see it, they can share it, and they're likely to be that philanthropist and even entrepreneurial way. This is an age of and generation of crowdfunding, and you have your GoFund pages, your Kickstart pages, and again, this is something that they've grown up with, and they're likely to ask and share for a cause in the digital space. So what does that mean in terms of if you are a content organization, whether you be a publisher or a media organization? Again, millennials love to skim and watch, and that means that you should look into the ways that you display your headlines. How do you put your content out there? And these are opportunities for innovation and changing platforms. Standard, again, millennials will skim through headlines on Twitter, Snapchat, watch videos on Vine and YouTube, get the latest feedback and reaction and updates on sites like BuzzFeed or different blogs. But I also want to share that there's innovation that's out there like the Skim, where there's a good digest of what the topics are, what are the current headlines out there, and why millennials should care. CNN has a great storytelling, visual storytelling space with Great Big Story, and just to share, millennials are aware of brands, but they don't have that, brand loyalty like traditional news organizations. And for a lot of us who have worked in traditional news, we feel very loyal to that organization that we work with or that we follow. Not saying that, millennials don't download the apps and then different news apps that are out there, but they're more inclined to really follow the topic of interest more than the brand itself. And as a brand, that means you have the opportunity to really innovate that space in terms of how do you have that content, because millennials love to engage, and they're not necessarily always going to follow something that's always branded in terms of news to follow a news story. So this slide here is just to show that during a live event, if you're doing event coverage, this is something that you should definitely keep in mind. Millennials are used to engaging pre, post, and during an event that happens, right? This is an example of the State of the Union address where tweets are happening, as the president is giving his speech. But we often see this type of interaction from millennials through different breaking news events as well, such as the Boston, marathon bombing, or the different attacks, or even protests that occur. A lot of my students feel that they had something to say, they were part, or they really connect with that news event because they were able to interact on their social media and on their social profile about that. And especially if they're in that region, they're likely to connect and say where they were and share kind of a citizen journalism or citizen reporting type of aspect of, I was at this situation, at this place during this event, and this is how it affected me. So we often see this type of social conversation that happens. With that said, millennials aren't shy. They connect with key influencers, whether you are a digital brand, whether you are a media organization, or a personality. So we see that for a lot of times, millennials do follow different personalities, and they might even follow them as a gateway to news. So for instance, Jimmy Fallon has a huge social media following. A lot of them are millennials, and right now they're likely to keep up with the election coverage, and spoofs off of the election coverage through a personality like Jimmy Fallon. Anderson Cooper has over 7 million followers and counting on his Twitter account. Bill Simmons, he even has a Pinterest account. Stephen Colbert. So, you know, it's not likely that millennials just follow a news organization and their online profile and their social media profile, but they're likely to connect with key influencers and engage with them as well. And you see this in terms of even, you know, hashtag and social conversation usage among millennials with these key influencers. With that said, millennials, yes, they peruse across the digital landscape and they're likely to get different headlines and news and consume information and content off the larger digital you know, web for free. But millennials are likely to pay for content as well. So 87% of millennials pay for content. Now, what does that mean? This challenges the notion that millennials are just freeloaders for content and information in the digital scape. But, you know, in terms of digital natives, they will likely subscribe or use a paid service to get their topic of interest and get more information on their topic of interest. So this is a generation that subscribes to Netflix, Hulu. You know, they're used to downloading and streaming movies and different shows. They will pay for content like sports and, you know, if they see that they can really interact or, you know, they're getting that instant gratification for news, they're likely to pay for a news app as well. So this is an app generation, Uber generation. They're likely to, you know, download and also, like I said, pay for content. And what is it that they pay for? So this is a great slide to show, you know, a differentiation and breakdown of what millennials will pay for. Likely they're, you know, they will download a movie or a TV show or series. They subscribe to cable television if they have to, or they'll just go directly to that source and that app off of their smart TV. They're a generation that is used to downloading music. And I think what's really interesting about this graph is the good middle part about news and media information, where they're getting, you know, their magazines, or they might subscribe to a magazine online. You know, this is, again, a generation that's likely to get their information off of their mobile phone. So they're app driven. You know, I'd like to ask, you know, many of you, you know, how many of you, when was the last time you opened a newspaper? Or have your, you know, for those of you who have children, do your kids even, you know, open or have seen you open up a newspaper, right? So, you know, what might be something that we're used to or we had to adapt this digital landscape is something that, again, for millennials, it's a given. And they're not used to just seeing this either or differentiation, for instance, a print newspaper or online. They see it synonymous and likely they're more likely to lean online than actually opening up a physical newspaper. So I want to end with what's your strategy, and really ask for your organization, are millennials your target audience? And I say that because we often look at traditional ways of marketing to our audience, and we look at more of a readership in terms of loyalty and subscriber base. But we really need to pay attention to this generation because they are the largest generation to consume information through technology, right? So most millennials will skim and watch, and they're likely to want to find engaging content but they are likely to engage with content. So definitely keep that in mind in terms of your strategy. So it's not enough to put a story out there and just say and expect, okay, we've got this great story, it's going to be read. What's the second step? You know, millennials, yes, they're like most of us will be spectators and read a story, but they're likely to share or make a comment or interact and engage with the story if it's meaningful to them. You know, that's another way in terms of you looking at headlines, whether you make it catchy or not, or even in terms of how you display your headlines and lay out your headlines. Is it, you know, easy? Again, this is a generation of multitaskers. They love to scroll through, and they're likely to look at 5 different media and newspaper sources. They're visually influenced, so video shouldn't be a second thought. Images shouldn't be a second thought. You know, likely they're going to share their photos, and they're, like I said, 1 in 5 of them are used to posting their own video online as well. And social media and sharing are standard. So, you know, a lot of what I find with clients and for traditional news publishers, yes, they have a digital brand and presence, but they look at their social media strategy and they're kind of, you know, behind in terms of catching up, where they realize that, okay, maybe mobile and video is something secondary or a second phase to work on. Well, you're kind of late on that, because for digital natives, that's a given. And where you should be concentrating on are new platforms and ways that you can connect with the millennial audience. And new platforms such as Periscope, Slack, and off of, you know, existing social media. So Facebook, you know, with their Facebook instant articles, you know, that's where a great opportunity for publishers to engage with millennials. And Facebook has done, you know, half of the job for you, where, you know, now they have a WordPress plugin for, you know, their developers already, you know, have researched and provide you the code and the guidance for that. It's just a matter of your site onboarding that and being able to utilize that. And Facebook already knows that millennials mostly get their news and information, or even, you know, use Facebook off of their mobile phones. Another thing that you should take a second look at is your metrics. You know, what is the measurement of success? And I think this is a point where it's not enough for you to look at just unique page views, but look at the conversion. So if you are, you know, exploring the realm of subscription, this is probably a good metric for you to, you know, analyze with that millennial audience, because like I said, 87% of millennials are likely to pay for content.
Oh, well, that's very informative, Eleanor. Right now we have a couple additional questions from the audience. What metrics do you think are most valuable at evaluating editorial content, like satisfaction ratings, shares, page views, things like that?
Sure, that's something I just ended with, where, yes, you know, traditionally, we look at unique page views, and now when we look at social media, we look at shares and likes. But the conversion, I think, which is a challenge, is what does that mean for your site? So within the social media space, it's great to have that Facebook and Twitter following, but how do you convert that back to your own brand and your brand site? Is that important to you? And video consumption, and I think ads displays are very important for you to not only tag and track how millennials, you know, spend time on your site. So this is, you know, in addition to what we already know in the digital marketing space in terms of unique page views, unique visits. And now everything is changing, even in terms of mobile, like what is your lifetime value metric within your mobile space. And that really depends on the type of content that you are putting out there to engage with millennials. So the conversion metrics, I think they're going to be more important than the standard metrics. And that might mean for you and your marketing team to revisit and to update your digital strategy to really factor in that as well.
Oh, very good. And how can news media organizations get regular feedback from their younger readers?
Right. So again, millennials aren't shy. Again, they're likely to consume across multiple sources. So they don't necessarily distinguish. And I say that because, some of them, who are mindful of a credible source may, lean to one, credible source over the other, but for them, they're likely to look at more of an aggregation platform to get their information, and they don't really attune to the brand. So, what does that mean in terms of media and publishers and how you can engage? I think this is where you need to take a look at your digital campaigns and see, how are you telling your story, and what is it that you're providing to the millennial generation for them to give you their feedback. So that's beyond just social media. That could also be in terms of commenting or even encouraging them to upload their content, or to even ask them, where were you when this event happened, right? So a few semesters ago with the Pope visiting, a lot of my students shared on their social media, on their own profiles, where they were during the whole procession. This is, again, a place where they're likely, and it's kind of standard and natural for them to, share their experience off of an event. And I think for news and publishers to have that open forum is really key, and to encourage that social conversation.
Oh, very good. And is there anything else you'd like to tell our audience today?
No, I just want to thank you for this opportunity. I hope that, there were some takeaways. I'm available on LinkedIn, on Gmail, and email here on the slide. You can contact me. So I would love to hear feedback. And if you'd like to learn more, please feel free to connect with me. Thank you for this opportunity. It's great.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Eleanor. That was great. And I'd just like to mention that Eleanor's slides will be available online after the broadcast. And RAM's portfolio provides unique and strategic solutions with relevant insights to help increase their clients' revenue, grow their audience, and give them a clear understanding of the markets in which they operate, be it local, regional, or national. To find out more about RAM's suite of products, please contact Ola Tornerud at ola.tornerud@rampanel.com. Thanks for watching at Gen Connect U, where we connect you to life's best experts. Tune into our next RAM webinar on April 5th at 2 p.m., presented by Ray Chestowski, where we are discussing the power of print. Thanks very much for watching, and I'm Nathan Ryan for Gen Connect U. Bye.